Meeting's called to order at 6:01 p.m. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake Board of Zoning Appeals public hearing for March 2022. We all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Wilkening?
Here.
Mr. Kapora will be absent. Mr. Bungie?
Here.
Mr. Cupido?
Here.
Ms. Merck? Here. Mr. Austin?
Present.
Mr. Salatas?
Present.
Ms. Abernathy present.
Okay. Thank you. The first item of business will be the minutes from February of 2022. I personally didn't get much time to review them myself, and I don't know if you guys need some more time to take a look at them. But any of you that did, do you guys have any additions or corrections or anything that you saw if you did look at them?
I'm going to say, vote as the chairman, I didn't get much of a chance either.
Okay.
I'm afraid to say.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion, we defer the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion to defer until next month for review for Mr. Wilkening and seconded by Mr. Bungie. Roll call.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. I just want to let the petitioners know that we are down one member, as you can see. So, figure you ought to know that just in case you think that another member here might be beneficial or not to your cause. So, with that being said, the first order of old business is Weir's Electric Power Solutions, LLC. Variance of use and developmental variance. Jeff and Darlene Boersma, 11703 Upper Peninsula Lane, St. John, Indiana, 46373. Petitioner is Jeff Weirs from Electric Power Solutions, LLC, P.O. Box 712, St. John, Indiana. The property being in the vicinity of 12828 Wicker Avenue. The first request is a variance of use to allow the petitioner to have multiple tenants in each building on a lot in a B3 zoning district. The second request is a developmental variance to allow the petitioner to utilize the natural buffer as screening to adjacent residential zoning to allow parking in the front yard and side yard and signage per tenant not to exceed 32 square feet. Mr. Austin?
Well, this is a continued public hearing.
Okay.
It's been going on for a while.
Okay, thank you, sir. Petitioners, state your name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Weirs, Electric Power Solutions, 9200 Dale Street, number 712, St. John, Indiana.
Russ Posen with the DVG team, 1155 Troutman Road, Crumpton, Indiana.
Okay,
List of engineers.
all right, thank you. It's been a little while since we've seen you guys. We wanted to have you here. It's been a few months. So can you guys shed some light on where you've been and what's going on?
Absolutely. So since that time, we engaged another engineer to help with floodplain modeling. That was something that was needed for the west end of the property because there's a lot of we'll call it upstream area tributary. We recently got that information in. We've been diligently working to analyze it, to re-engineer the site because of the analysis. We've been working with Don too, so a little back and forth. So with that all in mind, actually we are, still moving the site layout. We are at this point obviously abandoning development west of we'll call it the floodplain line, focusing east of that line. So obviously that's the buildable area shrinks. So, and again, like I said, we're working with Jeff here to kind of get the site layout. We're contemplating actually maybe going down to just one building, one larger building that'll be a little more conducive to the site, looking to add parking. With all this, I think it's probably appropriate, since we're not finalized with the site plan, that we'd like to request a deferral to the next month's BZA meeting, to make sure that we have our site plan ducks in a row, be able to show it, and be able to not just show you the site layout itself, but to make sure that we're more finalized on the amount of parking and a little bit more in-depth analysis of how many units we want in what's most likely going to be one building.
Okay, all right. Appreciate it. Jill, do you have anything to add?
No, exactly what Russ had said. The town had requested this storm modeling. It's a bit of engineering and work, knowing the history in that area. David's well aware of the history in that area, as I think many of you are. So they're working through those details. So in order to bring you back more information, those details need to be worked out, and they are working one-on-one with the town's engineer on that.
All right, thank you. You're running solo on this, Jerry. I usually like to go to the plan commission members, and you're the only one here, so you got anything?
Well, I don't have the privilege in me that John brags about. However, this is a very strange arrangement here. We did ask for, I'm going to call it forensic stormwater review, and that's what they've been working on. But along the way, this request has evolved. We start out with so many units, so many square footage. Then it turns into multiple tenants in the request. And now we're still chasing on paper here, we're chasing the natural buffer. How that natural buffer is not in the list of stormwater waiver request, I do not know. But the original request was not advertised as multiple tenants. Mr. Everly and I discussed this briefly, in your presence also, Nick. And I just am having a hard time understanding how this can even continue without being re-advertised. I mean, the original request was not for multiple tenants. It was for so many units, so many square footage. Now we have this open-ended request for tenants in the building. And it was changed when the stormwater review became a concern. So I'm not understanding the flow here.
Mr. Oshner?
I think there's a more critical concern to be had than that, although that is certainly important. But I just heard the engineer say they don't know what they can do on the property. I'll use that generically in terms of buildings and tenants and parking, because the forensic storm engineering is in process, being completed and being finished, so that they can do that work and make that determination and then stand in front of you. And that's completely backwards for what a petition like this should be, and what Indiana code talks about. They bear the burden of proof, and they come to us following your rules and requirements. And 3 months, when was this filed and when did you first come here? December?
December.
Yeah, no, it was back in the fall.
November 10th, we held the public hearing, and
So
the BZA.
Thank you. So we're 5 months down the path, and we're at least a month, maybe 2, from knowing, and that's just not what's contemplated by our rules and procedure, by the law, and by normal planning process. It's just backwards. So I would be more concerned about that, having already conducted the public hearing. It just does not seem procedurally correct for those who might have an interest, those who are in the area and might have a weigh-in, for our review and assessment in an objective fashion of the plan proposed. So I would think that those items, maybe it's a pile-on to what you said, Jerry, but if I'm sitting here listening to it, I'm more concerned about the fact we're still in an unknown place.
I agree, and the update certainly is what we were after. But these projects that drag on, as one of your colleagues, Ryan, would know, who was involved in one of these projects that had almost not dragging on anymore. Bits and pieces get forgotten, and I don't care for this way.
No.
And I completely understand where you're coming from. Unfortunately, this is kind of how this property rolled out from the beginning. We weren't asked to do this study that we just got through now, and we still don't have Don's approval for the site that we're basically kind of ready to move forward with. But if that's where you're gonna lie with things, then we're just gonna withdraw and then, have to regroup.
Well, I just want to tell you, keep in mind, this has nothing to do with your business. I hear nothing but good things about your business, but this is a sensitive piece of property, and these evolving requests they're problemsome. They're absolutely problemsome.
We did our best to try to bring everything forward.
And I do not disagree with that. But the language in here changing from the original request, I'm not comfortable with this.
Mr. Chairman? if I
Yes,
may?
yes, ma'am, sorry.
It was advertised in the Post and the Times with multiple tenants in the building. It has not changed. That request with multiple tenants, it never had a square footage in the request. The request in your packet with their application, and I could read it word for word as it was posted in both newspapers on October 28th, and it was posted in the papers as multiple tenants. So I just wanted to let you know, there was discussion on the square footage and how many units in each. It was advertised to the public and is on your agenda the way I advertised it in the newspapers on those days.
Okay.
And the same advertisement that was sent to the adjacent property owners.
Then I stand corrected of discussions for what I remember.
Yes.
So many units, so many square footage, so many tenants.
And that has unfortunately changed dramatically and has gone in the opposite way of what we would like it to have been, but because of the water issues that we are now very close to trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Which hindsight for all of us, we would have loved to have done this, a long time ago. Maybe something to learn from it for all of us, but this is where we're at. We just finally got the study back and are trying to figure out how to make everything work, and still needing to just hear back an okay from Don.
Okay, yeah, I concur with Mr. Rosh, and the procedure here has bothered me since day one. I thought that this was poor process, poor planning. You guys fought for the two buildings, which is your right to fight for it, and you got it, and I was personally against it. Now you guys are coming up here telling us you might not even be able to put two buildings up. So I think that you guys are smart by regrouping here, because I don't think we're going down a good path here with where this is going, so.
Well, we'd rather not have to do that because it's going to set us back quite a bit. We're going to have to go through everything that the re-advertising, as Jill had said, that we had done correctly in the first place. But if that's where it really leaves us, then so be it. Everything has changed with the property, and it wasn't really laid out to us that we needed to do this study for us to have known and been able to come to you guys with anything other than basically how long and what it's taken for us. It's cost us time and, significantly more money to do all of this, and we're finally at a place to, get it all put together. We just got the study back within the last week or two. We haven't heard anything from Don where we really wanted to be able to come and present something, but we don't have everything to do that yet.
The original concept here, or the planning commission, I don't recall.
Yeah, two buildings.
The stormwater was mentioned. I mentioned it. It was planning commission. Don mentioned it being of utmost importance. Ryan Marich and Mr. Weirs here chose to keep coming back to get pieces and pieces and pieces and pieces. And so
the timeline, what you're suggesting is correct, but your timeline is not our timeline for things. And yes, this forensic stormwater evaluation was gonna take some time, no doubt about it. But you knew that up front, but you guys kept coming for little pieces.
I didn't
Signs,
personally know that.
You didn't know what?
I didn't know that we were gonna be requested to do this stormwater until a couple months ago when it was requested.
Not,
The original concept, that stormwater was discussed in this room, because I was sitting in the middle. And I said something to Don, because those of us who know it's a, let's call it $1 million problem. We knew it was gonna have to be done, and what was discussed between Ryan and Don, I don't exactly know. But the intensity of that, and the weather, has brought us to where we are now. That's not ours to juggle.
Thank you, Jerry. Jeff? Nothing. Ray, you have anything for us? No? Okay. Mr. Austin, you have anything to add beyond what you said?
The due diligence in this project should have and could have included the understanding of the stormwater issue. We fought that issue here in our community for 10 years, longer maybe, Bob. Wicker Meadows and all of that storm drainage was a well-known commodity here in town government. So to not necessarily know or acknowledge knowing that stormwater was an issue is problematic. It's basic to this area, this sophisticated piece of property. It's developable, and you can develop it, for sure.
It's significantly less than we expected.
to my understanding, the stormwater was mentioned, and, you know, in the beginning, it was mentioned, we'll say not as the level of detail, as it progressed to. It was not, you know, at the time, it was not known that it was such a large area. So that's from my standpoint, from what my understanding, that's where it evolved to, hey, there's some off-site flow to, wow, you know, for lack of a better word, there's a very large area. So that is the transition that has taken place, and then obviously that led to a very large analysis, and that's where we are now.
And Russ, that timeline and information shared between Don Oliphant and your company, I don't know anything about it. But it was going down that path from the get-go. Yeah.
It progressed.
We were also led by the owner, who was here for the first few meetings, and possibly had we got into it a little bit deeper, may have spoken on his own behalf, but he had led us to believe that what he had done, per your request, with his property to the north, was that he had taken care of much of that flow issue with the drainage pipes that he put in and that were added to the site, but not to, you know, Don's liking. And so in the process, we started to change that, and it just did evolve into something that we certainly didn't know anything about, didn't expect, and weren't asked until recently to really dig deeper. So I'm not quite sure how we would have gone about it differently, because it hadn't really been spelled out that we needed to do that. We had many meetings with Jill, with Don, to go through this and try to make it as smooth and understandable and bring you guys a full, complete picture as much as possible. And if it wasn't asked from Don to us that we absolutely had to do this study, we would have went back to the owner and figured out something else. In the meantime, we've eaten it, and are trying to figure out to move forward.
Okay, well, it's my opinion that I would like to see you guys regroup and come back with a solid plan without any open-endedness. From the get-go, there's been a little bit of guessing going on where this is gonna head, especially with this multiple tenants thing. And my opinion is, when you do come back, please don't come back with multiple tenants. Please tell us what you want, because we don't want to sit here and hash this out any more than you guys do as far as what you can have, what's allowed. We want to know a number, okay? what's gonna work with you, and then this board will decide, where that goes. So, you guys have any other opinion on this?
No, I agree.
I feel the same.
Okay,
No new opinions.
so you guys are gonna need some time, and you guys are requesting a withdrawal then?
Mr. President, one question.
Yeah.
Russ, what is your timeline for this?
For.
What is your best scientific wild guess?
To have we probably have a site plan ready within 2 weeks.
We basically have a site plan, it just hasn't been okayed. I mean, and we're down to a couple nitty-gritty, move a few things here and there. You know, the pond just changed on us a couple different times. In the last few weeks from having this study, it was reevaluated with the flow again. And just as of last Friday, the pond changed sizes on us again, which diminished our billable size, which is really where it's taking us from, you know, 2 medium-sized buildings down to probably just 1 building. Because of the space and things like that, it just doesn't make sense. We don't have the space to split up 2 buildings and what have you. You know, again, everything is just kind of changing on us. We're still waiting to hear back from Don. I think we're really close, which is why we didn't want to have to withdraw. We're going to have to go through the public announcement and everything else. We're right there, but if that's what needs be,
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Russ said 2 weeks. That surprised me. We grant them a deferral, as Russ had suggested. Is there some way you can review the new submittal and decide whether it goes on the agenda or not? Or Chris, perhaps, decide whether it goes on the agenda or not?
If Jeff and us, I want to add to that statement though, if Jeff and us finalize the site plan as early as Monday, then we're talking next week it'll be done. You know,
Okay, but you won't be back until next month. So we, you know, I want to know that what's going to show up here as concept has what we suggested they bring.
Well, Chris, do you have anything?
I don't have anything other than to answer, Jerry, your question. We will have the new planning director at that point who can also help make the determination with Nick if it makes the agenda. I think we'll also have Don Oliphant's memo as to whether or not it meets the standards.
Okay, then, if, I'd like to solicit a motion for a deferral.
Are you making a motion?
I'm going to make a motion to grant Russ's original request for a deferral
Until, April?
till next month.
Okay. All right. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
You guys will be back here next month with everything ready to roll. And keep in mind, over the past few months, the concerns we've had with certain items. Don't let it be a surprise next month, so you guys can get rolling on this, okay?
no problem.
All right. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Kubido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0.
thank you.
Thank you, man.
We'll get this rolling, we'll get it cleaned up.
Okay, thanks. Item number 2 of old business, is camp developmental variance and variance of use. Tom and Lori Camp, 12715 Parish Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. The property is in the vicinity of the same. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to build a house 21 feet from Parish Avenue and 15 feet from West End Court, and to allow the existing garage to be used on the property with electric prior to construction of the primary structure. The use variance is to allow for a second residential use, an in-law suite, on a lot in an R1 zoning district. This was carried over from last month. Thank you, Mr. Foster. Petitioners, good evening. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Tom and Lori Camp, 12715 Parish Avenue, Cedar Lake.
Thank you. And, since last month, what do you have for us? Anything new?
We submitted to Jill new documentation that would demonstrate that we revised our site plan. We flipped our home, so we are now fitting onto the property so much better. You should have a PDF in your information for the meeting that shows that the front of the home now aligns almost perfectly with the existing garage structure. And has a setback of, am I remembering right, about 32 feet,
32 and a half.
32 and a half feet.
So the 21 changes to 32 and a half, Jill?
Correct.
Was it just by way of shifting the house back, or did you scale the house down?
We flipped the house completely,
Just split the...
and so in flipping the house completely,
And
they,
redrew.
yeah, and that part was partially redrawn. So you're looking at shrinking, the one in the house from 57 feet that was in the middle of the lot back down to about 39. So there's an 18-foot difference automatically. So both setbacks become a lot easier.
Because you're working with that pie shape?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, we're working with that very difficult isosceles triangle.
All right, Jill, do you have anything to add?
No, they work to get it more within the triangle, a little further back from Parish.
Okay.
I wanted to add also that I kind of was hoping I could talk on a personal level about why the in-law suite was important to us and that added square footage that we added to the plan a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just asked Tom if I could take a few minutes of your time, and it won't be long, but, so I just wanted to say that I felt it was important to address some of the backstory as to the whys in regards to the extra space that we had Debbie from Ideal Homes draw into our plan, and why it presents somewhat of a hardship to remove that additional space from those plans. This may be unorthodox, but I just want to give you this a minute.
Unorthodox.
3 years ago, my very well, very healthy, focused sister-in-law, April, she's pictured on the far right on that picture, received a Botox treatment for her migraine. This began a journey in our family we are still walking today. Over the last 3 years, we lost my sister-in-law in a lot of different ways. She was quirky, fun, active, and a very bright person. First, her health started declining to the point we thought we would lose her to starvation. Then her mental health started declining. Today, we are still battling with my brother for her mind and the health and to get her back. My brother Tim basically works his job and comes home to take care of his wife every day. His devotion to his wife is amazing and keeps me wanting to help him in any way I can. The only time he really ever takes for himself is when we are all together, meeting my parents, my other brother, and our kids. We try to get together as often as we can and meet in a home where we can support him. It has been an honor and a privilege to pray with him and help my brother these last three years. In the last year also, my parents' health has declined, and we're looking at what their future may look like. While my parents right now are very active, my mom has had 4 surgeries in the past 4 years. My mom will increasingly need more help, and as a daughter and nurse, I can give them that help. The added space we've drawn will not only help my parents, but allow my parents to be more of a presence in my brother's life as he helps care for April. The home on Parish we are asking you to allow us to build will bring a family together that needs each other in many ways. Yes, we can take the extra space away from the in-law suite, but we would lose our ability to use that space that my family will likely need in the future. Building this home as you've seen it drawn today will take the hardship from our family and make life easier for us. Lastly, Tom and I were blessed with 3 boys. 2 of our boys bought homes here in Cedar Lake with their wives. We've come to love this area. When I came across that quirky little lot on Parish, I loved it right away. Our 3rd son is home with us yet. He was the one in the middle, the tall blonde, in the picture with Tom and I. He has Asperger's or high-functioning autism. He is also the reason this space would be helpful for us in the future to allow him to possibly use this area as his own until he's mature enough to be on his own. Tom and I knew that buying this lot would be surrounded by roads and would require some flexibility. We fully intend to work with you to the best of our ability while asking you to please allow us to keep the space that was drawn for the mentioned reasons. Lastly, I want to thank you for your time working on this board. I fully understand that your time is valuable and you are working on the betterment of Cedar Lake. Also, lastly, as a nurse at St. Anthony's, I'm also working for those who need me in this area. I've seen what COVID has done to families and worked the front lines through the worst of it. God has given me gifts in caretaking and mercy. I want to use those gifts for those in our community that God brings my way as well as for my family. Please allow me to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Canty. Jill, I have to ask, does the new zoning ordinance that was adopted have any effect on this request? Nothing? Nothing's changed?
No.
Okay.
No, because these are setbacks.
Okay, thank you. All right. Do you guys have anything else for the petitioner right now? No, a little bit different plan than that?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
The 15 feet, Jill, is to the east,
Correct. And it is now
and what we're looking at,
20 and a quarter.
oh, now it's 20 and a quarter, okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
So the back setback increased and so did the front.
Okay. All right, is there any plans for a berm along Parish at all?
I would be glad to do that with town approval.
Yeah, I'm just asking what your thoughts are. That driveway to the south, I'd be very cautious about creating a vision triangle problem, because obviously, what could happen?
Right.
I have no other questions.
Okay, thank you, guys. So I just want to clarify one thing. What is your front yard setback going to be now?
32.
32, okay. So you're not asking for a variance in the front anymore?
Well, I think,
Yes.
yeah, I think they are.
Oh, they are?
32 on Parish and 20 and a quarter along West End Court.
Oh, is that a 40-foot?
Correct.
No,
Parish
okay.
is a federal access road and therefore they designate it as a 40-foot setback.
Thank you. Okay.
So in the future, Jill, these people could use West End Court?
West End Court would still be usable
Okay. Because it's public.
because it's a public way.
All right.
Okay.
I have nothing further, Mr. President.
Mr. Bundy, anything?
Not at this time, I'm still kind of crunching here,
Yeah.
I'm good for now.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Austin, we had closed the public portion at the last meeting. I think it would be fair to see if there's any remonstrance out there.
It's only appropriate
Okay.
to solicit any
Okay.
comments.
All right, thank you, sir. Folks, can you have a seat, please? Is there anybody out there for or against this variance? Anyone here for or against the variance? Are you guys back there for the parish house? No? Okay. Jill, do you have anything online?
I do not.
No? Okay. All right. Public portion is now closed. Can you guys please come back up? Thank you. Jill, do you have anything else to add?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Actually, I take that back. Reminder on the developmental variance that one of the other things, besides the 32-foot setback from Parish and the 20 and a quarter foot setback from West End Court, they want to be able to use the existing garage and have electric to it while they are constructing this residence.
Okay.
So that is part of that variance request.
Okay. Thank you.
But the old garage would stay forever?
Yes.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah, no plans to tear that down, very useful.
Okay. And our lot coverage is good, Jill?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Oshner?
So is it 32.5 feet from Parish and 20.25 feet from Westland?
32.
32, okay, I thought I heard initially 32.5.
It's 32.5, but it's a weird angle. It's 32 when you get a little bit closer to where your drive is, I believe.
And 20.25.
So it's 32, it's not 32.25.
32.
32 is the closest point.
32 even.
And the closest point on West End is 20.25.
0.25.
Correct. I listed on that agenda as it's advertised.
And then for the little bump out here that's listed as the proposed drive, that's at the, I guess, southern end of the property along Parish. What is your setback? What is your setback there?
I believe it's past 40 feet, it's not marked, so it doesn't designate it. You mean from the lot line south to the edge of the driveway?
Well, I guess southeast toward, you have the proposed drive.
Yeah, that's plus 40.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
32.
Okay, because it's unmarked, we asked Randy when he made the drawing to give us the closest points that were less than 40 feet. So I believe that would comply, and therefore he didn't mark the measurement.
So for the record, that part of the house will comply with the zoning ordinance.
I believe so.
He has the measurements on there. It was like a foot is so many inches on the plan, and I think I measured that out.
Scale.
Yeah, there's a scale on there. So we talked about that. You may not remember it, but it's measure.
Because it looks like it could be 40 feet to the actual edge of the pavement, but I think from what I see here, it looks like that's closer to me than the 33 feet that you have on the northwest corner of the proposed residence.
I believe that's because of the way the roadway changes there.
Okay, I just don't
Right.
want to,
No,
if there's no number there, then I'm just afraid that if it turns out to be erroneous, then who's going to be pointing fingers at whom down the road? If we only grant 32 and a half feet?
32.
32.
All right. Well, the front of the house lines up with the garage, the old garage, right?
Yes.
Correct. Looking at the GIS too, the Parish Avenue does push closer to the west end of its corridor over there, which would give them more space than the 32 feet, but it would have been really nice if the engineer would have marked the distance.
But because of the right-of-way does not necessarily run down the center of the pavement does not run down the center of the right-of-way, which has never happened before in Cedar Lake, has it, David?
Never.
Mr. Boggy, I can assure you, two guys sitting up here have used tape measures to figure that out.
Okay, that's just my only.
The road was in the wrong place.
Well, and will it ever be?
It's no joke.
Yeah, it hugs
So
the
close and yet,
western
so
boundary.
close and yet so far.
What is going to be the square foot of the home? Can you just verify that, square foot of the home?
I believe it's 2650 approximately.
2650. And Joe, what is our minimum square footage that's required now is this R1?
This
Has it changed?
this was applied for under your old zoning ordinance, so I don't have the new zoning ordinance.
Okay, the old one, what's the minimum square footage on R1?
14, 15?
It was 1,500 square feet.
1,500.
We discussed that last month.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a time period for the construction of the primary structure?
Starting tomorrow, if you'll let me.
Okay, so if a time period certain were imposed by a decision of this board, let's say 1 year, is that reasonable?
Absolutely.
Because you're gonna allow, they've asked for the garage to be,
And that would follow some other decisions that have been made here.
yeah, that
Regarding
goes to
exactly.
some consistency in allowing non-conforming use continuity.
So the quickest that they could pull this off would be, just say hypothetically, a favorable recommendation was given, developmental variance was granted. Once the town council made their determination on this in a favorable way for them, this is all hypothetical, they would have 1 year to pull a permit, correct? And then the permit's good for 1 year at the minimum, and then it's able to be renewed at the discretion of the building department?
Correct.
Okay, so when you say 1 year, Mr. Austin, what do you?
I'm trying to put something on the calendar that is fair, works for them, works for us, in monitoring it, administering it, inspecting it, all the stuff that goes with it.
Okay.
And we won't be 4 years from now looking at this property saying, what's going on?
Fair enough.
So, Dave still doesn't have his answer. What are you comfortable with? With an occupancy permit in how many months? Knowing full well of supply demands and things like that.
Well, but this takes me more than a year.
Hang on. Sorry, we got that.
Part of the structure, is it not?
I don't.
You guys have any issues with that?
No, I grabbed the wrong one.
Okay. Jerry, carry on.
Okay. So, Mr. Camp, would you anticipate a certain time for occupancy?
Within a year,
Within 12 months?
yes. I've spoken to every major contractor who I know, who I've worked with, and I've asked them all to be aware that I'm ready to start in March. I was ready to start, in January, let alone February.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that buffer scares me, but that's your number, that's
You
your
wanna
number.
make it 18 months, it's fine with me.
I can't make it 18 months.
Okay, 18 months is great, if that was the worst case scenario.
Jill?
Perhaps the suggestion would be the permit for the electric to the garage needs to be applied for at the same time as the permit for the house. That way we wouldn't be having something with electric that we don't have a permit application on file for the home. And I think that seems to me to be what your concern is that they would put electricity to the garage and then something wouldn't get built. So if you're applying for them both consecutively,
There'd be a clubhouse there.
Yeah.
that way
I'm only
we
kidding.
have plans for the home you're gonna build and your
You might not know
plans to-
somebody's living in there.
Right, few squirrels.
If the lights
maybe-
are on.
Yeah, maybe a couple rats, few squirrels, we can,
If, I would suggest that if a motion is made along with all the other recommendations that have been given here, that this in-law suite use variance, I think that it ought to stay with this petitioner only. I think that would be wise. And I guess, Jill, this is not going through planning commission at all? Okay. So no other contingencies with that?
No, I just don't know how we would enforce that.
Which part's that?
The in-law suite to follow this, the camps only. I mean, if this property gets sold 10 years from now, you know what I mean?
I guess if there's 8 cars parked in the back, somebody could.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know how.
I'm trying to avoid a rental, a
No, and I
multifamily
understand.
being there
I
in some way,
understand.
shape, or form.
You're
That's
trying to avoid multifamily and a duplex or a quad or 4 families in there, and you've got a complex.
Yeah.
That isn't what has been described here, and you can enforce that.
Well, I would recommend that we do that if you guys make a motion on this to approve, or a favorable recommendation.
You're right, Jill. Leasing that would be tough. Unless it was an ad in the paper.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I could too,
Yes.
the neighbor asked me to, who is Mr. Foreman, just make for the record that he is, in favor of the petition.
Okay. All right, thank you, Chris. Okay. You folks have anything else to add to this? You're okay with what's been discussed so far? Okay. Yes. All right, so we've got the developmental variance up first, and soliciting a motion for this item first. Someone's working on a motion, I think. Rock and roll, Jerry.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the developmental variance to allow the petitioner to build a house 32 feet from Parish Avenue and 20 feet and a quarter inches from West End Court, and allow the existing garage to be used on the property with electric prior to construction of the primary structure. With an 18-month completion, i.e. occupancy, and the electric permit be applied for the garage at the same time the home's applied for, and that the in-law suite.
You wanna wait on that one?
Yeah.
You're including the findings?
With the findings of fact.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Folks understand the motion? We're all good? Okay, any discussion on the motion? Yeah. All right, motion made by Jerry, seconded by Ray, to allow this developmental variance for the petitioner to build a house 32 feet from Parish Avenue and 20 and a quarter feet from West End Court, and to allow the existing structure, or the existing garage to be used on the property with electric prior to construction of the primary residence, to have the contingency of 18 months to obtain occupancy, and also that the permit for electric for the garage is pulled at the same time as the permit for the new home, and to also include the findings of fact. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
No, motion carries 3-1.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the 18 months, I just want to make sure that that 18 months is from today's approval.
Yes, right?
It should not, it should be from when the town council approves the development, because they have nothing.
I'll amend my motion to include the 18 months being from town council, but final approval by the town council
On the use variance?
on the use variance.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Ray?
Ray.
Second? Okay. Okay. So that's been amended.
Sorry, I just wanted it clear for the record that it wasn't 18 months from the date they pick up their permit.
Okay. All right, thank you, Joe. The second item that I'm soliciting a motion for is the use variance for the in-law suite.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we grant the request for the variance of use to allow the second residential use, an in-law suite on the lot in the R1 zoning district. And this in-law suite approval to remain with the petitioners only.
Favorable recommendation.
Favorable recommendation.
To include the findings?
To include the findings of fact.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Jackson, to send a favorable recommendation to the town council allowing this variance of use for an in-law suite on a lot in a R1 zoning district, with this use to be for this petitioner only, and also to include the findings of fact. Do you understand the motion, folks? Any questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Loveenheim?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Chairman, we'll be anticipate that for the town council meeting, just because it's Tuesday next week, I got to have the certification ready. It'll be for the April 5th town council meeting. I would,
I can't
maybe,
tell you when it's gonna be ready, because I need the minutes of the meeting, and I'll need the minutes of tonight's meeting to prepare properly the certification. If I get it quickly, I'll get it done quickly. If I don't, I won't.
we would,
Good thing you got
we would
18
hope
months.
it would be April 5th. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, just be in touch with the building department on that, all right? Thank you, folks. Item number 3 of old business is Grimmer developmental variance. John Grimmer, property being at 13515 Lee Street. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to install a 14-foot by 20-foot, 280 square foot shed for a total accessory size of 1,112 square feet and lot coverage of 30.1%. This is also something that's been deferred from the February 2022 meeting, so we're all good, Mr. Austin?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
John Grimmer, 13515 Lee Street.
My name is Ellie McCullough with Tough Shed out of the Merrillville location at 1303 West 81st Avenue,
All right.
Merrillville.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any updates on this since last month?
Pardon?
I'm sorry, any updates on this since last month? I know you weren't here, sir, but Ellie was.
Well, I just spoken with my client. We'd be willing to maybe even adjust the size, obviously, if that would help the council or help, permitting. And the size that was originally thought of for the 14 by 20, I don't know, we could maybe even go down. I know, I don't want to compare apples to oranges or cases from the last meeting, but the one with Michael Kajewski, I know he might not have as much lot coverage as my client does, but you guys were able to do something with him on a 10 by 16, and we could possibly send down, we want to make sure he's got enough room to fit the stuff in that he needs, but there's room for us to adjust.
All right, thank you, guys. Jill, do you have anything to add on this?
No, I just, as a reminder, the accessory structure that's on Mr. Grimmer's property was there back in the 90s before the size of the accessory structure was reduced. So he was allowed to have a larger accessory garage back in the 90s.
Okay, thank you.
And lot coverage wasn't considered with that accessory structure years ago, and he has multiple lots there that are together, so it's not just one of those smaller lots.
Okay, all right, thank you. Gentlemen, anything for the petitioner?
No, I'm just kind of reviewing through my head the pictures here.
Okay. And I think this was touched last month, but it'll be a similar, I guess, color and design to the structure that's there.
Sir, yes, sir, very accurately, we can match up the colors.
Okay.
Shingles, home colors, obviously.
Okay. You got a lot of stuff, Mr. Grimmer, huh?
Yeah, that's what happened. It just, I had some stuff stolen, so that's why you see there, I got a Trans Am sitting there. I got to pull a Trans Am out of the garage to put the stuff, that keep it safe. Now I got to take a shed, I can take the stuff back, put it in the shed, put the Trans Am back in the garage.
Yeah.
Should've just got a over bearing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, just reviewing these photos you guys have. So the car will go back in the garage and all the other items will go in the shed?
Right, right.
And you don't have a basement on the house?
No, I don't.
Do you guys have anything for the petitioner right now?
Well, you were asking about what was going where. The trailer will remain.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to leave the trailer out, but it'd be between the shed to the garage and back, so you won't really see it. And it's, the way it's down like in the middle, that's when we had the snow, I just took it to my truck and just plowed it in there and dropped it. That's why it's in the middle of the yard.
Okay. Good. I'd also like to open this up for remonstrance. So if you gentlemen can have a seat, please. I'd like to, ask if there's any remonstrators out there for or against this variance? Anyone here for or against the variance? Jill, do you have anything online?
No, sir.
No? Okay. All right, the public portion is again closed. Well,
What's the lot coverage, 25%?
was it being exceeded before this request?
Yes.
It was already?
It was, but that was, as I said, the garage that was built on that property was prior to him owning it, and it was approved by our building department, and it did meet ordinance at that time.
Okay. So he did not create
He
his
did
hardship
not create
by...
the hardship. Our ordinance changing actually created the hardship.
Okay. Thank you. You told me.
One thing to note too, just as a reminder, he is able to meet all of your separations and setbacks. It's just the lot coverage that he's asking.
Okay.
Well, and total accessory size. Sorry.
All right.
How much smaller would the shed have to be to get us closer to 25% lot coverage?
25% now.
A little over 30 now.
And he's exceeding it without this building. You're just trying to see
Well, I'm
how
just
much
trying-
less you can exceed it.
Well, I'm trying to.
How tall are the sidewalls gonna be on this building?
That's a good question.
I believe 6'8".
And this thing gets put on, does this thing get put on a foundation, or is it just, sitting on stone?
On stone.
Stone?
We were gonna do 4 inches thick of number 73 top driveway stone compacted down. And he was gonna dig down, David's Lawn Care out of Chesterton, the Valparaiso area, he can dig down the 4 inches, scrape it with the bucket, and then compact the 4 inches of the top driveway stone.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
The existing lot coverage at this time is 26.2%. Dropping the shed down to a 12 by 20 made the proposed lot coverage 29.4%.
Okay.
So it was a 3.2% increase by putting the shed up. Originally, he had asked for a 14 by 20. At the last meeting, we discussed a 12 by 20.
All right, thank you, Jill.
And part of it is his deck house's lot coverage that's around the house. It's
Okay.
331 square feet there.
Well, while he's getting, the details on the wall height, does anyone wanna make him an offer on a Trans Am that we can get into?
Well, you're the only one that has the space.
Yeah, right.
The other three of us have the same problem.
Can you fit 2 car seats in the back? Can you fit 2 car seets in the back?
Yeah.
or-
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But it's
I'll help you.
not fun putting kids in and
I'll
out of
help
those.
you. No, they can get in themselves.
The reason I got in that garage, I don't know if you've seen it, it's a pretty good sized garage,
Yeah.
but I got a restored Model A, 31 Model A, I have 2 custom Harley, all this stuff just
Oh, yeah.
Business stuff that I get sold, I thought, well, I gotta put it in the garage.
You're listening when he said Model A,
What,
weren't you?
yeah, I got a 31 myself, truck.
Really?
Yeah, well, it caught my ear, I should say, but, okay,
Sidewall height, as he's getting into one of our tall models, is gonna be actually 7'8".
okay, thank you, sir.
You got it.
The overall height will be what?
That I can find out.
Sidewall, 7/8.
With a 412 pitch. I can get it to maybe.
10 feet.
What's the offset from the house have to be? Away from the,
10.
so 10 feet from the house?
10 feet from any other structure.
Okay.
So it's 12 by 20. With a 14 by 20, he's got 10 on each side. No problem. Right?
Yeah, he's good with the setbacks all around right now. Correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, this here is a developmental variance, so this would be a board decision. Right now, the petitioner is requesting a 14 by 20. And that would lead us to 30.1% lot coverage. This is a challenging area out there, I know that.
I guess what I'm pleased about is he's not asking to double the size of the garage.
Mm-hmm. Don't give him any ideas.
He's here now.
Yeah. Elliot, did you have anything else to add, or are you all good?
Trying to get you guys that total height of the shed.
Okay.
Could be less than 11 feet.
I do kind of like the thought of 12 by 20. I mean, I realize it's only 2 feet, but then that does get them under 30%.
Yeah.
That's a fair statement, Jeff.
And you were willing, Mr. Grimmer, to go 12 by 20?
Pardon?
You were willing to go 12 by 20? Okay.
On this barn toolbox calculator I use without contacting my engineer at the factory, I'm at 9 feet 2 inches for the
Okay.
peak. Excuse my computer.
Oh, yeah, thank you, sir.
You got it.
Okay. 12 by 20 is what he's looking at then, at 29.4% lot coverage.
That's right.
That works better for the board. Would anyone like to make a motion on this item?
Let's see. They have a question about last month. Was there some discussion about the fence?
I think the ownership of that, but I think the fence to your south is owned by your neighbor to your south, right?
That's mine.
Oh, that is yours?
I turned it down.
Oh, okay. Yeah?
I don't know, do I like that better? In front?
Don't ask me, I can't get in your head.
What is he saying now? Change his mind?
Did I change my mind?
Oh,
No.
that's what I'm asking.
No, I just remembered last month that there was some talk about the fence, I thought.
Well,
That was the only
there could have been a mention of it because it does have a little lean to it.
Mhm. Well, it's going, he's tearing it down, so.
Got 18 months.
No. Any of you guys want to make a motion on this, or is there any other discussion on this item?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion on this item.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the developmental variance, I'd like to make a motion to allow the petitioner to install a 12 by 20 shed, 280 square feet. No, that's not right.
It's 240, I think.
240 square feet shed for a total accessory size of whatever that works out to.
29.4? I think that's what Jill said earlier.
Was it?
That's what I got.
Lot coverage of 29.4.
For lot coverage of 29.4 with the findings of fact.
And accessory size will now be 1,072.
You say so.
40, well, it's 240.
Correct,
Okay,
1,072.
okay. Very good. Do we have a second on the motion?
That's second. Does that include the financial impact? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I heard him whisper it.
I'd like to amend my motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to include that, everything with the trailer ends up in the garage.
Everything but the trailer ends up in the garage?
Yes.
Okay,
Or under roof.
okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
You amend your second, Ray?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, wonderful. So we have a, motion by Mr. Welkening and seconded by Mr. Jackson to approve this developmental variance to allow the petitioner to install a 12 by 20, 240 square foot shed for total accessory size of 1,072 square feet and lot coverage of 29.4%, with the contingency that everything but the trailer will end up under roof, and also to include the findings of fact. Mr. Grimmer, you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
No, sir.
No? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Welkening?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Kubido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilman.
All right, we finally made it to new business here. Number 1 will be Lake County Public Library, developmental variance. Owner petitioner, Lake County Public Library Incorporated, 1919 West 81st Avenue, Maryville, Indiana, 46410. Property being in the vicinity of 10010 133rd Avenue. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to convert the existing sign to include a digital message board. Mr. Austin?
Legal's in order.
All right, thank you, sir. Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
John Brock, Assistant Director, Lake County Public Library, 1919 West 81st Avenue, Maryville, Indiana.
Thank you. And please state the reason for your request.
The library wishes to convert the existing sign of the Cedar Lake Branch Library from just basically a lit sign to an electronic message center, and then also a sign that has the name on top of that. And want to be able to use it to advertise library programs and services. We have a nice sign at our Maryville Library, and we're trying to put electronic signs at all the different libraries. So
Okay.
Start here.
All right, thank you, sir. And Ms. Murphy?
Exactly as how he presented it, in your packet is included a layout of the sign from Gary's sign.
Okay. Under our current ordinance, our digital signs, they are allowed, just not messaging signs?
No, we left that the same. That hadn't even changed. Digital message signs still need to come to you for hearing.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, gentlemen. What do you have for the petitioner?
So really, the only thing that you're adding size-wise is the branch information basically on the top of the sign, a 1.5 by 90 inches basically, other than going digital for the rest.
The cabinet is basically the cabinet of the message center is basically the size of the existing sign.
So what's the square footage, Joe? This is gonna get us over the square footage of the sign, isn't it? Total?
Well, because it's outfitting the existing sign.
You know, if they're adding to the top. Oh, I'm sorry, existing's 4 by 12. Okay,
Correct.
sorry.
So they're adding a 90 inch by 18 inch, my understanding?
Correct.
And what do you plan to display on this messaging board, sir?
Just be things related to things happening related to the library. I think there's a sign on there that as the time and temperature and some things like that every once in a while, but mainly it'd be things about libraries, children's programs, there was some kind of an event at the library or some new material maybe that we had, like, you know, online access to the Wall Street Journal or something like that. I think it's one of the things we're flashing at Maryville right now. Maybe something that said Happy Valentine's Day or something like that.
All right.
Nothing.
Like, we don't need a reminder of the temperature on days like today, so maybe you might wanna forget about that until summer.
No temperature displays unless it's 60 plus.
All right, if you guys don't have anything, or you do have something, Jerry?
I do. Joe, what is our sign? It's 32 square feet, right? 4 by 8? This,
Sorry, because we're going back and forth, my
I
friend.
mean, we're making the sign bigger that's already too big, doesn't it?
Was there a variance request that gave the oversized sign when the sign was constructed?
Don't know. But I'm getting to that questioning next.
I'm trying to remember, how long has that library been there, 5, 6 years now?
2006. So.
Yeah, time flies too.
Whoa! Wow. My hair was a different color then.
You had it.
Thanks.
I saw it from the ground up. Gary Sign put up the sign originally, so, I mean, I would assume that was all approved when we did the, you know, the different drawings for the building.
Okay.
If there was a variance for the...
About 60 square feet.
About 60?
You're allowed 2 signs, 160, 132.
Okay.
He's allowed to be 40 feet, right?
So he's all good.
Okay. You're not planning on putting this 40 feet up in the air, are you?
Wouldn't plan to keep it close to what it is right now.
All right, what does close mean?
Close is the way it's drawn in the picture.
Yeah, it doesn't, you know,
She
the tree's gonna keep growing, so,
So you've got another sign you're adding down below too?
I don't think so.
No?
That's the dimension.
Oh, that's just a dimension, okay, all right. Okay.
is the sign gonna be on all night?
I think our one at Maryville is. I don't know, what are your other ones on here?
Well, the other ones don't matter. What matters is right now. Because at 3 o'clock in the morning, nobody needs to see, you know, flashing light.
Maybe somebody doing shift work might be going by and want to do something on Saturday.
Yeah, a lot of maybes.
Yeah, no, that's probably happens, I would say. There's people do shift work, they like to see something too.
I mean, typically, we usually have people shut down between like 12 and 5 at night, or 12 to 5 in the morning. I think that's what we've done in the past, isn't it, typically?
Those are similar numbers.
Well, I'm sure it can be programmed to do whatever you want to.
And with that said, who
Watchfire's the sign company.
okay,
Makes
so if the sign's doing something it's not supposed to, who would we call? Who would somebody at the town call?
I guess us at the library call me.
Okay. I'm sure we got his cell number.
It's probably on this application.
All right. Will the main office, main branch be doing the programming, or will they be doing?
I think we are gonna be able to, because we're using the same software.
Software for the existing sign in?
I think it can be controlled centrally.
That's a good product.
All right, sir, can you have a quick seat, please? Open this up for remonstrance. Are there any remonstrators here for or against this variance? Anyone here for or against the variance? Ms. Murray, do you have anything online?
No, sir.
Okay, public portion's now closed.
Exactly.
Can you please come back up, sir? Thank you. these signs. I don't need to tell you guys again, but I'm just not a big fan of these things on the main thoroughfare. But if you guys are going to grant approval, I think definitely some conditions would be very wise. As far as, I know a lot of the stuff is regulated by law, but as far as the times when it is on and off, would be a bad idea.
Well, Jeff and I asked, and
No.
we got,
Yeah,
What's the school do on there? What are their, how are they limited?
I couldn't tell you honestly, there's so many signs, but.
They're just right next door to us.
Right, we just, it's been my opinion to not light this area up like the Las Vegas Strip and flashing and all that stuff at all hours of the day especially. So that's where I'm coming from, and probably where Jerry's coming from too on this is.
But like I said, if we want it off at a certain time, I'm sure it can be programmed to do that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, so.
For different lighting conditions, control on luminosity, is that something I'm sure these are worked into? We've usually asked during the day that 60% typically?
they usually shut them down to 50%.
You shut them down?
Actually, in the daytime, they're usually near 100%. At night, they take them back to 50%.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. And
We
they
have
can
to
be
meet our lighting ordinance.
Okay.
Does he have those little bits of criteria, Jill?
We can make sure they do. I would make the assumption Gary Sign has done quite a few signs in our area,
Okay,
but
Well,
we can
I-
make sure he has them.
okay. I don't know anybody over here should be chasing Gary's sign around. But the people you answer to would be good with a 12 to 5 arrangement? You're good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
So if you're gonna direct this towards similar conditions that were applied, I would say the last one was People's Bank.
People's Bank was just, what, 3 months ago?
Yeah. So if you are gonna put conditions, are you thinking along those lines, Jerry?
I don't recall what those are, but, I mean, again, this is still a resort community, so, 3 Street's not what most of us are after.
No, sir. Jill, did you have anything else for us?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
What do we decide for a height? Do we know what is this just gonna replace what's there now?
So they're adding 18 to what's there, so I guess,
Is that it, sir? You're just adding to the top of this, along with converting the bottom to a digital board? No extension to the height of the posts?
No.
Okay.
that's the right question.
Are you all good on that then, Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna be another 18 inches taller?
Yeah.
All right, do you guys have any other questions for the
No, sir.
Commissioner, any other discussion? And this will be both sides, I take it? Yeah. Okay, this is a board decision. Anyone like to make a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion, Mr. President, that we grant the developmental variance in allowing the petitioner to convert existing sign to a message board and add 18 by 90 sign to the top of the existing sign with a off time of midnight and a on time of 5 a.m. with the findings of fact.
Were there any other conditions? I know we're looking back, but were there any other?
And also to include the list that Jill has regarding the functioning of the sign and the restrictions within. The scrolling left to right, flashing, all those.
That follows our lighting ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Bungie to approve this developmental variance allowing the petitioner to convert the existing sign to include a digital message board, also adding 18-inch tall by 90-inch wide sign at the top, with the condition that this message board be off at night at 12 p.m., to be on, again, no earlier than 5 a.m., and to include the findings of fact. Any discussion on this item?
Sir. Yeah, hang on.
Oh, yeah.
Mid-12 PM.
I'm sorry, 12 a.m.
12 AM.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gary. Any other discussion on the item?
No.
No? Sir, do you understand the motion? Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
No, motion carries 3-1. Thank you.
There'll be something I'll pick up to you later at another time, or?
Yeah, I'll reach out to you tomorrow, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John.
New business, item number 2, Damouth Developmental Variance, Wesley Joe Damouth and Sandra G. Damouth, 13368 Osborne Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. The property being in the vicinity of the same. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to rebuild the existing garage with a side yard setback of 4.5 feet from the north property line and 5.5 feet separation between the garage and house, which has an existing wooden deck. Mr. Austin?
Legals are in order.
All right, thank you. All right, sir, can you please state your name and address for the record?
Wesley Joe Damouth, 13368 Osborne, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Okay, and the reason for your request?
To rebuild the garage. An existing garage now is in such bad shape that I would like to be able to rebuild it. I have pictures of the flooring, the walls, and everything, and it's really in bad shape. I've been there for 31 years, and it's just been deteriorating and sinking into the ground for the past 30 years.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it was kind of tarped up when I seen it the other
Yeah,
day.
it has a tarp on the front now. Well, see, I had a permit for Hen and Sons to start work on it. They were gonna do the siding and replace the floor. Well, when they came to start on it, the first day when they did start on it, they tore the sidewalls down 4 foot around on the inside and exterior. Well, upon that, I knew the garage had been on fire years ago before I ever bought it. And it's in worse shape than what I thought it was, because there was one wall that I never tore the paneling loose to look at it, and it's just completely burnt in the corner all the way around. And the front, the facade of it, it's the same way. It's all burnt up, and it's charred all the way back. I have pictures here that, you can look at.
I believe you. All right. Jill, did you have anything for us?
No, we, additionally, like he said, the structure's needs some repair.
In bad shape.
There is a deck between the house and the garage that's existing, so that puts some of your separation there. It's not the house itself, it's the deck. This is your older subdivision on Osborne. If you would have had if the garage would burn down, we would let him rebuild it in the existing footprint. If there was some natural disaster such as that, we would let him rebuild it, but however, Tim even went out and looked at it, and we're going through the variance process because that is your rules.
Okay.
So he wants to build in the existing footprint.
Fair enough. So existing footprint, existing height will all stay?
All be the same.
All be the
yes.
same?
There was a blueprint that was, or a print that was submitted
File, a large print.
of what I want to do with it.
Gable end still?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Exactly, same exact thing that's there. The only difference was that they were talking about putting trusses in it instead of just running rafters and joists.
Okay.
And that was, I told him, I said, I need area for storage, which with the trusses that they were gonna put in wasn't gonna give me any storage. So upon that, we said it could be changed, you know, to be able to be of rafters and joists.
Okay. Fair enough. We're gonna take a look at your
But
plans.
it won't be any taller than 14 feet.
Yeah, it won't be any taller than what it is. I don't know what it is right now, but it won't be any taller than what it is.
I know Chris, Tim, and myself discussed this one extensively.
Mm-hmm.
Is the height on there, Jeff?
Well, it listed as a 512. So, what do we add? Looks like we're adding 5 foot 10 inches to the wall height or thereabouts. 8 foot walls.
Yes.
If you can read that number better than I. It looks like it says 5, 9.5.
Right now, the way, from my asphalt driveway to the peak of my house, and from the apron of the garage to the peak of the garage, the apron of the garage to the peak of the garage is 9 inches difference. The garage is lower than the house.
As far as height, he is allowed to match the height of his home.
Okay.
That is in your ordinance, I suppose, because as long as the pitch is the same,
Okay.
they can match.
You guys got any questions for the petitioner at the moment?
No, sir.
Jeff?
Did any of you want to see any of the pictures he had or?
I drove by it, but if these gentlemen want to take a look. Was this yours, Joe? Okay. You guys need to see the photos he's got of, it's bad. I've seen those drive by, I can imagine what it's like.
Yeah, you saw with the tarp on it.
Yeah.
Does this garage have a real footing, or was it a model number 4?
I have no idea.
Something that's gotten so
Yeah.
compromised, yeah.
But you're not putting a new foundation underneath it, just rebuilding what's above the foundation?
Well, it's on the print here of what was supposed to be done. The existing, foundation was gonna stay, and then they were going to re-pour a 4-inch pad.
Okay.
But now, I have no idea if it has a foundation to it.
Well, that's something, Tim or Tony will have to, probably
Yeah.
double check.
Review with the plan.
Yeah.
That'll be their expertise,
Well,
right?
you start plucking around at the flat work, and pretty soon you find out that
Oh, yeah, they're surprised.
surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know, well, like I say,
As long as you know.
if you really looked at the 2 corners of my garage that face the east, you'd see it because they're both sank down a good 6 to 8 inches because the concrete busted in a triangle shape, and it just let down in front.
All right, Mr. Damon, can you have a seat, please?
Yes.
Are there any remonstrators for or against this variance here? Anyone for or against the variance? Ms. Murray, do you have anything online?
You got?
Oh, you got, all right, please come on up. Oh, okay.
If I could, I've lived next door to Joe for 30
What,
years.
can you say your name and address, please?
Louis Haberlin. I lived next door to Joe for 30 years. I've lived in my house 52 years. And, I see no problem with the garage being rebuilt. It's, he's always been a good neighbor.
Okay, all right, thank you, I appreciate it. Anyone else for or against the variance? Did you have anything online, Joe?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Public portion's closed, please come back up, sir. I don't see any problems with this. It's kind of unfortunate he's going through this right now, honestly, to fix what he's got, but we're here, so.
Well, I guess he didn't tear it down first without answering.
Smart move. All right. Do you guys have anything else for him?
No, sir.
No?
Yeah.
I have nothing, no, sir.
Okay. Well, this also will be a board decision.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we'd grant developmental variance to allow petitioner to rebuild the existing garage with a side yard setback of 4.4 feet, 5 inches, 4.5 feet from the north property line, and 5.5 feet separation between the garage and the house, which has the existing wooden deck, with the findings of fact.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Jackson to approve this developmental variance allowing the petitioner to rebuild the existing garage with a side yard setback of 4.5 feet from the north property line and 5.5 feet separation between the garage and house, which has an existing wooden deck, to also include the findings of fact. Any discussion on the motion? You understand it, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Bungey?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. All right. You're on your way to fixing that thing up?
When's the next meeting I have to be at?
Oh, you're good. You just
Oh,
need to
good.
go on and get a permit.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
When can I do that?
Next week.
Next week?
Same day, yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Item number 3 of new business is Lake County LBM LLC. Owner petitioner, Lake County LBM LLC, 8900 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana, 46373. The property being in the vicinity of 10501 West 133rd Avenue. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to have a lot width of 60 feet at the 30-foot building setback line, which is the existing width at the 30-foot building setback line. Mr. Austin?
The legals are in order, but I've noted a very extensive meets and bounds legal description. Jack, do you have a reserve plat in here that matches the legal?
They're up for final plat next week.
That's probably it. That's right there.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's in our file and they match. Thank you.
So final plat is
Fine, Commissioner.
at Pine Crest next week.
We okay to proceed, Mr. Austin?
Oh, you are?
Yeah, okay.
I'm just making sure that this file matches what's going on at the plat. We talked about this a week ago.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
And that's what we've advertised. That's
Okay. Great. All right, petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Jack Slager with Schilling Development, 8900 Wicker Avenue, St. John, representing Lake County LBM LLC and Schilling Lumber Company. So we have, we started the process at the Plan Commission with the intention of putting an addition on the existing Schilling Distribution Center. When we pursued getting a building permit for the addition, it was discovered that the land that the current building sits on was an unplatted parcel. So we had to start the process with a one-lot subdivision. We've received primary approval at the Plan Commission level for the one-lot subdivision, but need to request a variance because the parcel, the unusual shape of the parcel, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, it only has 60 feet of frontage on 133rd Avenue. I don't know if the rules were different when the building was built, but the parcel appears to have been shaped that way so that it had 60 feet of frontage on 133rd. Your current ordinance requires 80 feet of frontage on a public road. And we just don't have it there. So we're requesting a variance from the 80-foot wide requirement to a 60-foot wide requirement.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Ms. Murray?
Exactly how Jack explained it. This is one of the things in your updated zoning ordinance. It doesn't say minimum at the 30-foot setback. The 30-foot setback is a minimum setback. So in reading our existing ordinance, this is why they are in front of you for this.
Okay.
This, in your new zoning ordinance, they wouldn't need to do this, but because it was in flux as we're going through the process, we're keeping things going and matching up with the
When it
zoning
was applied.
ordinance.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that clarification, Bill.
They will be 80 feet wide at the building, where they're building.
Right.
So it's a unique parcel, that was built many, many years ago before Industrial Drive was even Industrial Drive and any of that was platted.
Okay. Mr. Wilkeny, our planning commissioner, got anything to add from that planning commission level?
No, I just, there's something out here that's a little concerning to me. We're showing 60 feet, written, freehanded, but as we get to 133rd, that dimension is diminished, in an implication that, is that property line, does it jog around the sign? Is that what's going on there, Jack?
That notch was taken out, when the town widened 133rd Avenue. They took a little notch from us for additional right-of-way. I believe that's where the pipe comes under from the high school. So we actually, if you go back to 30 feet, which is what we're talking about, the 30-foot setback.
30 foot south gives us 60 feet.
Yeah, we're still 60.
So we really don't have 60 feet on 133rd, we have less than that.
Not anymore. You guys took 5 feet from us, so we used to, but.
Okay. You gave it to us, didn't you?
All right, hang on.
Yeah, speaking.
Use that third.
Hang on. At 133rd, there's not 60 feet, correct?
Correct. They
Okay.
need to be 60 feet, they need to be 80 feet at the 30-foot
Yeah,
setback line.
okay.
They're
We're
only
60.
60 feet at that.
Okay,
So clearing that up in our update,
okay.
we set that rule as a minimum of 30 feet setback.
So I guess I just,
It's gray, so we have it here.
all right, then the frontage, Mr. Asha, what's the definition, true definition of frontage? Because we're showing 60 feet wide, except that is encompassing a drainage ditch at least in part, sometimes in majority. Is this for access? Is that what this is for?
It is. Jack, do you want to explain what you're doing here?
That, maybe it was originally intended as access. It's not our intention to use that narrow strip as access. We will continue to use Industrial Drive as our access point for the building, so.
Jack, you told the plan commission though that they could.
Yeah, right.
Emergency vehicles needed it, they could.
That's true.
That's the reason I
But
asked you to explain it.
But it's unimproved frontage.
Correct.
It's gonna remain the way it is.
That's correct.
And it can encompass the drainage ditch and still be called 60-foot of frontage.
It can.
That little notch actually is still right of way.
Well, I'm looking at the way the water runs here, that lighter line. I know that ditch is probably a maintenance nightmare.
Yeah, it's right on that property line.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted some clarity.
You're okay at this point? Dan?
Yeah, I thought
I appreciate the background.
I thought the easement though was along the west property line. There's that kind of haphazard line that runs parallel with the east right of way for the railroad tracks. I thought that was where the frontage was going to be, but perhaps that's my mistake.
All right.
What is that line to the west, Jack?
Just another parcel line. I think those are two parcels to the west, two separate parcels on the GIS.
Well, the line that runs next to that word says stone, where the kind of temporary parking is. I thought that was the frontage, the 60-foot,
No.
okay.
You all
Nothing
good?
else right now.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Ray, you okay? Yeah?
I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Slager, it'll be a brief seat, so please take a seat. And I'm gonna call for any remonstrators here for or against the variance. Anyone here for or against the variance? Nothing else, Joe?
No, sir.
Okay, told you to be brief. Public portion closed, come back up. All right. So this is all good, plan commission then, I'm taking it? Like everything is.
Nothing of abnormality comes to mind.
All right. Jill, everything?
They're on the agenda for final plat next week.
Okay.
Who has to maintain that ditch, Joe? Whose ditch is that? Is that their ditch or our ditch, or whose ditch is that?
I'll have to check with Don, I honestly don't know
I
that
think it's
answer
theirs.
here tonight.
I think we maintain it.
Yeah, I think it's theirs.
Mr. Austin, do you have anything to add?
This, you know, this is a technicality that covers a technicality to make something happen. And it's really what, the Schillings has done here to make, compliance. They want to build in addition to their, existing structure. Just kind of making the rules work, catch them up. It's hard to explain, a lot easier to see when you're looking at the plat.
Industrial Drive had a caveat that didn't match. That's what's taken.
Well, they have more than one caveat, but this brings them into compliance with current standards.
Okay.
Even though the, frontage road is not gonna be used practically.
Okay.
The frontage off of 135.
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
So from a planning perspective, this is all good?
In fact, it's the only reason you're doing it. For a function purpose, you wouldn't do it.
Okay.
But from a planning perspective and pulling permits and doing the right thing, making the one lot subdivision, it's the right thing to do.
All right.
So technically, you can't drive off 133rd to get to that building.
Right.
Unless you're going really, really fast to get across that ditch.
Yeah. Well, you got that Jeep, you could do it probably.
Nothing like your truck, you're driving.
Jack's Ferry Service, that's how they'll get you there.
Alright.
Jack?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, how about Gondola Road? I can see it.
We need a height variance. You want a height variance?
All right. You got anything else to add, Mr. Slager?
No, that's it. Like Jill said, we're on the agenda for next week for final plat. As we get into the platting of this, once we have the final plat recorded, we will now have a easement for the ditch that we talked about, which really didn't have any proper easement before either. It was just there, so.
Cleaner's better, Jack.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. You guys have nothing else. This will also be a board decision, being that it is a developmental variance. Do we have a motion to approve or deny this variance?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion. We grant the developmental variance, allow the petitioner to have a lot width of 60 feet at the 30-foot building setback line, which is the existing width at 30 feet building setback line with the findings of fact.
Do we have a second on the motion?
Just second that one.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
can we make that contingent upon final plat approval?
I'll amend my motion to include the contingency of final plat approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ray, you second?
Yeah, second, James.
All right. So a motion made by Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Jackson, to allow this developmental variance for the petitioner to have a lot width of 60 foot at the 30-foot building setback line, which is the existing lot width at the 30-foot building setback line, with the contingency of final plan approval by the Plan Commission, and also to include the findings of fact. Any discussion on the motion?
No, sir. Nope.
Mr. Slager, you understand? Yep. Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Stupido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much. Thank you. Final item of new business. Whining developmental variance, Aaron Whining, 14712 Lee Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana, 46303. The property is in the vicinity of the same. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to build a garage with a rear yard setback of 5 feet and 8 1/2 foot of separation from the existing house. Mr. Austin, are the legals in order?
Legals are in order.
Thank you, sir. Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Aaron Winning, 14712 Lee Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Okay, and the reason for your request?
The developmental variance for the garage that I am building, I'm just replacing an existing structure that was already there. The old garage was in ridiculously bad shape, and during a storm, one of the trees came down on it, and so now I'm just trying to put it back in the same spot.
Ms. Murr?
What he is stating, this would be split, he has two lots there, lot 60 and 61. If you look on the, my apologies.
Survey here?
Yes, on the survey there. And wanting to build there. There had been a structure of some sort there previously. With the trees that are in that area, I can't find it on an aerial map that shows it. Any approval needs to be contingent upon these lots being combined, because otherwise you're going to have a garage on two separate lots. If those lots are not combined, you cannot build that garage.
All right.
So, well,
The lots have two separate tax ID numbers at this point.
yeah,
And unless those are combined, you cannot build that garage.
okay.
You understand, sir?
I do. I was unaware of that at the time.
I hadn't realized it, I think because your survey had the legal description including both lots. But when I checked Lake County records today, I thought maybe it had been in process.
Right.
And it hadn't been. It's not a super complicated process, but it would need to be done before any permit would be issued.
So I'm rebuilding in the same location. So that was already there to begin with.
But what had happened in, not necessarily your property, but other properties, we've had people pick up a half of someone's garage or a half of someone's house on a tax sale because they paid taxes on, for example, your lot 61 or your houses, but not on lot 60, and then people were losing half of their garage or half of their home. So these lots need to be combined into one tax ID number before any.
This is part of the cleaning up that I mentioned.
Right. I could have that done before I got here.
And
If somebody would have mentioned that, I'm sorry, ma'am.
no, and I thought maybe it had already been in process too, so
It's a fairly easy process, I think, isn't it?
It
is.
Okay.
Very ministerial.
Yeah, it shouldn't burden you much. But
They
go to the auditor, right?
Correct. Take your deed up to the county building and see the auditor.
Don't be in a hurry.
This is 5.5 years in coming, so I'm getting in a hurry, I'm sorry.
Joe, you said something you can't find it on the GIS. You mean you can't find the garage on the GIS?
I can't find the garage on an
looking at it
aerial
now.
view because there's a lot of old trees there, so
Right.
I'm not quite sure how long ago it had fallen down.
It's only been down this past really nasty storm, so I would say within the last 6 months. I mean, it's only been gone 6 months. You can still see the mess of dirt that's still there. That's
Vaguely see maybe a roof.
So it's gonna be the same size as the last one?
I mean, yes, it was 24 by 30. I'm doing the same exact dimension.
Is there a foundation left?
No, there's not a foundation. There was a pad. That's what was there originally. I don't know how old this garage is. The garage has been falling down since before I bought the house. I only used it as a shed that I didn't need, I didn't need any important things in it, but now that it's come down, I'm wanting to put a garage up for my work and my
Trans Am?
not my Jeep.
31 Ford? Yeah. All right. You guys have anything else for the petitioner right now?
Is that a permitted footprint for an accessory structure? Is there in our current ordinance for the size parcel that he has?
Mhm.
We don't have to worry about heights or anything right now, or?
He's not asking for anything about what's.
Is it gonna be taller than your house?
It will not be taller than my house.
Okay.
So if there's no foundation and the lots are combined, that 8.5 feet could become 10 feet if the garage were to move south.
If the garage were to move south, the tree that was the existing tree was right next to it, I came down on it, but if I go any farther south, I'm now going into undeveloped ground, whereas the ground that's already there is developed for a garage, I have the gravel, the whole area right there is built for a structure already. Additionally, if I go any farther south, the oak trees to west of me, all of their root systems are right there, and that poses a hazard to them trees coming down as well if I cut into all their roots.
So Jill, when the last petitioner that had the garage, 2 petitioners before, said if it was kind of an act of God, would have been able to build again, right? Without a variance, so why is he here?
Because he tore the garage down without getting permission to rebuild it.
Well,
in the
I didn't tear the garage down, the tree tore the garage down.
The tree took
I
it down,
cleaned up the mess.
He didn't come in.
Well, that's force majeure. That's what that's called, force majeure, act of God.
Yeah.
We don't know. He didn't come in within the 6 months, so that's how our ordinance is written, at 6 months.
Well, that's what I was looking for, is that timeline.
Okay. Well, alright. Don't even bother having a seat, you could step off to the side just for procedural matters. And we're gonna open this up to any remonstrators. Anyone here for or against the variance? Anyone here for or against, nothing? Okay, the public portion is closed. But you will have to put a foundation underneath it and get that all up to.
Absolutely, that's what I plan on doing. Yep.
Okay.
But that's, again, all of that area is already set up for it.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
Jill, does a garage this big need can you do a monolithic pour
I didn't know
without,
that answer.
without a real footing?
Actually,
I don't remember what the overall size
is, 620 square feet. Anything bigger than that will require like a house foundation. But this is still under that dimension. There's just
It's gonna be a monolithic pour.
Correct.
Okay.
But I also.
And you have the documents to show you how that needs to be?
Right, I actually believe they were submitted when,
Okay.
Okay, you have anything else, Jill?
No, one of the things to note though is, like you said, he's not affecting those other trees. You have some very mature trees in that area. The separation, it is offset, while it's 8.5 feet from the home, it is offset a bit. So it's not 8.5 feet right behind the home.
Right.
It's lining up with the existing driveway.
actually drew a sketch real quick in case anybody had a problem. This is my house now. And this is how, like, the garage is offset. My driveway goes directly into the garage, so it's not actually behind my house.
Gotcha.
This is all landscaping. These are these oak trees that have all of their root systems in this area, including where I don't want to build. And then this is the garage and houses of the neighbors.
Oh, okay.
So,
Alright.
it's not all on that.
Yeah.
It's not all on what the plat would have said. So
Gotcha.
that's why I just drew a quick sketch real quick to make sure you guys were aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. More information's always better. Yeah, I personally don't see a problem with this. It's kind of unfortunate, we're beyond the 6 months, but, with it being an act of God, we didn't plan on having this garage wiped out by a tree. Unless you did, I don't know.
No.
Okay.
No, it was coming down. I had plans to replace it eventually. That just moved up my timetable,
Okay.
so.
Any thoughts? I could understand maybe, I would like to have him moved off the house too, but maybe he has some kind of, valid point with ruining the neighbor's trees in some fashion, I'm not sure.
And those, I actually, when I had, the tree company help me come out and remove the rest of the tree, the rest of it that didn't come down, we're looking at 100-plus-year-old trees that they're already leaning, so any messing with these root systems is gonna cause irreparable damage, so.
Jerry's looking like, man, when it fall, I need some firewood.
You can come to my house, I have
Well,
plenty.
I'm thinking, that suspicious guy I saw with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
You resemble him a bit. If he's got to put real footings in, he's gonna screw up the roots,
Underneath where this garage is now,
if he moves it,
if he moves it.
yeah.
Right.
Now, if the tree keeps growing and raises his garage floor up, well,
It's on him, right?
yep.
All right. Ray, do you have anything for the petitioner?
No,
Yeah.
pretty simple.
No, I mean, I'd like to see the separation be more, but, I mean, with the extenuating circumstances, it's a pretty tough call to expect him to make.
Yeah.
I sure wouldn't wanna mess with, you know, possibility or the probability of killing off some nice 100-year-old trees.
Oh, yeah.
On my piece of property.
Yeah.
I can certainly relate.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, this will be a board decision, and as Ms. Murr said, if the motion's made to approve this, having it contingent for lots being combined before the permit is issued would be smart. So would anybody like to make a motion on this item? You've been on a roll, Mr. Wilkening.
Okay. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion regarding, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion regarding the developmental variance and to allow the petitioner to build a garage with a rear yard setback of 5 feet and 8.5 feet of separation from the existing home. To include the following contingency, a submittal that the lot 60 and 61 have been combined at the auditor's office into one key number with the findings of fact.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Jackson to allow this developmental variance for the petitioner to have a garage with a rear yard setback of 5 feet and 8.5 feet of separation from the existing house, contingent lots 60 and 61 being combined prior to the permit being issued, and to also include the findings of fact. Any discussion? Sir, do you understand the motion?
I do.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Welkening?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Kupido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. You can, get your permit next week, I think.
Just
Come back here. Give you a couple days to get that forward to the courthouse.
Yeah, you just come back in here during business hours.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, thank you.
I appreciate you folks.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah. I think I was the quickest.
Yeah. All right, open this up to any public comment. Do you have anything to discuss, any issues?
Did the resolution kind of fall by the wayside until?
Yeah, the rules and regs?
Yep.
Yeah, we kind of pulled those off. They might have happened last month, Jeff, I'm not sure. Must have
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
You, have been tabled in January until Mr. Austin is given further directive.
Okay,
I'll report on it next month.
okay. All right. Thank you, Dave. Ray, you got anything?
No, I'm good. This was an easy one.
I do have a question. Maybe this ought to be directed to you, Bob.
Moving forward in the conditions of, Shane's Bar and Grill. Drive by it every day. Seems like a deterioration of the boarding up and, the roof damage that was done, in November? Seems to be accelerating. Has there been any talk with Shane's or property owner about moving forward with what's gonna happen with that building?
I haven't heard anything, I'm sorry,
All I've heard is street talk, that somebody put an offer in and they rejected it, and I heard that, he had insurance, but they wouldn't cover it because he was cooking in there. I don't know if any of that's true. That's gossip from the street.
From the looks of the building, it's gonna be a long time before it's considered an unsafe building. I mean, other than an eyesore.
Well, it's not able to be occupied, so that begins the process of unsafe. It doesn't need to be completely derelict or unsafe or some type of nuisance, disposition to occur, so you don't have to sit there and watch it rot before it's rotten and do something.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's right on the main street.
Anything else we need to pry out of you, Jeff? No?
Pry? I didn't see it pry.
We have anything from, Melody Hill Marina?
not for BZA.
Okay.
Well, that being said, no more public comment. You didn't have anything online, Bill?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Meeting's adjourned at 8:03 PM.
Probably.
Yeah, I think, you guys talked about that resolution.